Hello and a very warm welcome to this latest edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is a very familiar face here on DW. He is Dirk, one of the leading presenters on our main news broadcast, The Journal. Here he is, Dirk Jacobs.
Hello, it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure for me too. Fascinating. I'm really looking forward to this. Now, Dirk is not just a very passionate news journalist and a good colleague of mine. He's someone who can tell us how Germany sees the world and the world sees Germany. But he's also, on top of that, got an impressive track record as a sports journalist. So we will have the opportunity to talk a wee little bit about German soccer, which I'm also looking forward to very much, and one or two other sports as first. Let's begin with the serious stuff. Dirk, you came to Berlin initially to study economics here at the Humboldt University.
Yes.
And as you will know as a student of economics, one of the questions that people who run a business are always asked is, what is the unique selling point, the USP of that business? So what is the USP of Deutsche Welle?
The students of business ask themselves, economics, the unique selling point of Deutsche Welle. Now we have to be careful what I have to be careful what I say, because it's our company here listening exactly to what we say now, to what I say now. Comparing with CNN and BBC and so, you mean?
For example, in an international context.
Maybe there is. For example, I know when the war against Iraq was, or Afghanistan, I think you considered CNN and BBC as broadcasting for one side of the war, or Al Jazeera for the other side, and maybe Deutsche Welle in this time, especially in this time, was considered as a neutral, very objective program. Maybe in this time this was a unique selling point. And furthermore, there could be a specific way of considering the world, what's happening from Germany, because of our history and the development, our values for democracy, human rights, and so. Therefore, it might be just a very specific view to the world.
That's very interesting what you're saying, and what you're saying is often being confirmed to me by people in the Arab world, in the people in the Middle East, that they do see Deutsche Welle as a relatively neutral voice. However, it is true that Deutsche Welle is state-funded as a broadcaster. How independent is Deutsche Welle from the German state? Is it totally independent?
We are financed by the German state, so we are not that independent in an economic view. But in a journalistic view,
you feel comfortable.
I think we try to report a lot about the German government. Maybe a little bit too much. Because we always report whoever Chancellor Merkel meets, we will report it. And if you are financed by the government in a way, maybe you think you have to do that, but you could do less, maybe.
It's an interesting point. Deutsche Welle has chosen to prioritise 4 languages: German, English, Spanish and Arabic. And you often, like I do, we often work in the same space together, making news. Do you have the feeling that there's a specifically German way of sort of doing news?
We try to find a specific German way, that is to report a lot of German topics in the German program, which I think you don't have to do in the English program. We try that. So we try to report a lot in the German program about the German politics, for example, about every happening in any party, where we will, although it's even when it's if it's a small party like FDP actually is,
the Liberals, the junior coalition partners here in Germany.
Yes. And if one FDP member is against the other, we will tell the people in the world. But maybe you'll not do that in the English program.
Oh, I don't know. We'll talk about this in just a second, because I mean there is a tendency sometimes to get a little bit too close to German politics because the government is right round the corner from where we broadcast. But we'll talk in a second about perhaps Angela Merkel and perhaps why German stories have a relevance for the international world, for our viewers out there in the world. You've had your first impressions from Dirk Jacobs. Here's more.
Final preparations for the news broadcast at 2 p.m. A studio guest has arrived, the intros have been written. Dirk Jacobs confers with the editorial staff, ironing out the last details of the programme. Then it's off to the studio. Dirk and a colleague present news from all over the world for 2 weeks each month.
Herzlich willkommen zum Journal der DW aus Berlin. Ich bin Tina Gerhäuser.
Und ich bin Dirk Jacobs. Guten Tag. Und das sind unsere Themen. Herr Rudi Völler, die Spannung steigt. Alles wartet drauf, es geht wieder los.
The 42-year-old also works as a journalist and sports reporter for 2 other broadcasting companies.
Ein nervenaufreibender Tag für die deutschen Florettherren geht zu Ende mit einem tollen Erfolg der Bronzemedaille.
Even in confusing situations, the versatile journalist finds an interesting angle. A short coffee break in his kitchen at home. In constant view is a photo of his grandfather's home city, Cologne, bombed to ruins in World War II. Dirk Jacobs makes appointments for his next shootings. And his little son is waiting to be picked up from daycare. Dirk and his partner, who also works in broadcasting, have a blended family. He has 3 children, 2 of them from earlier relationships. He was born in Dortmund in 1970. Both parents were teachers. He studied economics in Berlin. For a while, he considered going into theatre. But then the devoted fan of Dortmund Soccer Club felt the pull of television. He learned his trade alongside his colleague May-Britt Illner. Since his youth, he's loved to play basketball in his free time. Here too, he likes to be in the center of things. And today, he's our guest on Talking Germany, Dirk Jacobs.
And Dirk, we're going to be talking about 1 or 2 cities that are very important for you in your life today. We're certainly going to be talking about Berlin. We're going to be talking about Dortmund. But I'd like to begin by talking about Cologne. Because you've got
the photograph.
The photo in the kitchen. Yeah, what's that all about? Because you were talking about German history. That is a photo of German history.
Yes, it is. It's... So let me first say Cologne is a city I like very much. They are friends of mine. I like the mentality there. I'll often be there and enjoy it there. So, but it's a little bit an ugly town, an ugly city because of
the people in Cologne.
And the reason
won't be
is
happy to hear you say that.
The reason is what you see on the photo.
The destruction.
Destruction. It was totally destroyed, in ruins. Like many other cities in Germany after World War II. And I think this is a very impressive photo. It's fascinating. You see how the empire of the 1,000 years ended.
The Nazi Reich, yeah.
Whereas the church of the 1,000 years was
remained.
saved. It remained.
Yeah.
And I often have to think about it. What happened in our history, in our German history, that was 45, it's so 70 years ago, and the whole country was in ruins. It's
very important
crazy.
to be reminded of that.
Very crazy.
And you have a connection to Cologne, to the city that's more direct than the fact that you visited there a lot, that you have friends there. I think you had a family connection, yeah?
My grandfather is from Cologne.
And did he experience that destruction, your grandfather?
Yeah.
What did he tell you?
They had... my grandfather in Dortmund also. Yeah. My grandmother in Dortmund also. The houses were bombed. So, and they had to build new houses after the World War.
They had to make a fresh start. Okay. You've mentioned it, Dortmund, yeah, the city that I think is closest to your heart. It's in what Germans call...
It's where I was born, yeah.
It's where you were born. And I think it's where your heart beats in many ways. It's in the Ruhrgebiet, what the Germans call the Ruhrgebiet, the Ruhr Valley, one of Germany's industrial heartlands. Just give us a feeling for the Ruhrgebiet. What's it like?
You say it's an industrial area, but the time is over. That's what it was in the last century. It was the industrial. It was the industrial heart of Germany. So 10, 11, 12 cities very close together, and in each city you have companies for coal and steel production, and
big names like Thyssen and Krupp and what have you.
And Hirsch in Dortmund.
Yeah, exactly.
And time is over now. That ended. The production was the mining became too expensive in the worldwide market, and the rural area had to change. And it was some cities managed, some cities haven't so far managed, and Dortmund is a city that has managed structural change, structural development. There are some new industries have set place there, microtechnics, banks and insurances, and so on. Yeah. So Dortmund has managed the change. Nowadays, you won't find any more industrial disease there.
Okay, you left Dortmund to come to Berlin, as we've already mentioned, and you began studying economics, but then you moved off into journalism. How did that happen?
By chance, a little bit, because I started like every student. I looked for a job, just to work, and I found the ZDF German program.
Big channel here in Germany.
Channel.
Very influential. Yeah.
The studios were close to my former flat, and I asked there if I can work, and I worked there. And then I had the big luck to become the possibility to work in a journalistic way, to try and to learn, and they let me do my first pieces, my first reports, and in the same time I continued my studying in economics, and when it came to the end, to my diploma, as you say here, I had already so many experiences in the TV business, and as a reporter, and as a journalist, and as an editor, that I decided to continue this as my job.
And now you are a news anchor at DW. You work outside DW as well. And I want to come back to that point that you were quite critical of how Deutsche Welle gets sort of quite close to German stories. But I think that German stories can be very important for viewers outside Germany. I think that's true, is it not?
Because of our specific solutions we find here in Germany for some problems.
That's interesting that you use that very word, because I often when I'm talking to people from outside Germany, I say to them, people who come to Germany from countries at the moment. There's lots of people coming from Spain and Portugal, not just for economic reasons, but people are fascinated by Germany. And people very often say to me, Germany is a country that solves problems. It has solutions for today's problems.
Very interesting. And more than other countries, for example, USA or Great Britain and so. Very interesting. It might be. So I think the Germans try to solve problems, yes.
Okay. In your career in journalism, what have been the stories that have been closest to your heart? The most important stories that you have covered?
In the very beginning, it was 9/11. I started as a presenter. And my second day, it happened in New York and Washington, the terrorist attacks.
That was right at the beginning. That must have made a huge impression on you, because
So I started, never did it before, to work as a presenter. And on my third day, it was 9/11. And it was not only the third day, it was the fourth day already.
I mean, when the story broke, what were you thinking? You must have been very nervous.
It was like in a tunnel. I had to do my work now. I want to manage this. I want to succeed in this job, and that's what I tried, and I managed this. But 4 weeks after 9/11, I felt the stress.
It caught up with you.
Yeah,
quite literally.
And I needed a break. I needed a break for some days.
I can understand
relax.
that. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that was the most impressive. And furthermore, 2 or 3 years ago, when there were the German anniversaries of when the wall came down and the reunification, we had a very big program concerning this, and that was a very nice time where you could talk about your own history in Germany.
We're coming back to German history again. Yeah? We're going to talk a little bit about sort of Germany, East and West, because in the last 2 decades or more, huge amounts of money have been invested in the regions that used to be East Germany to help them catch up with what has in many ways been the more prosperous West. But the feeling is that there's still a long way to go. So Germans pay a monthly solidarity surcharge, as it's called, for investments in the East, amounting to 5.5% of their monthly pay packet. But it is increasingly controversial because there are places in the West, like Dirk's hometown of Dortmund, that are also these days struggling.
The city of Dortmund would have had to shut down the municipal indoor pool in the Applerbeck district. But the local swimming association has taken on responsibility for the pool, mostly on a volunteer basis.
If we hadn't stepped in and no one else did, then this pool would have been shut down in 2004, and that would have been a mild disaster for the Applerbeck district.
Swimming pools or road maintenance, Dortmund is deep in debt. But each year, 30 million euros in solidarity payments to Eastern Germany are siphoned from Dortmund taxpayers.
We can't make this plausible to our citizens. For all our understanding for and solidarity with Eastern Germany, people feel this system is perverse. We think aid should be based on need, not compass direction.
Today, things in many Eastern German cities look a lot better than here in the Ruhr Valley.
We should look at what possibilities the cities have and decide on that basis who should receive and who should pay solidarity surcharges.
The discussion is long overdue because the hard times are over in the East, and when things have gotten so hard here in the Ruhr Valley, we should look at how the money can be better distributed.
Dortmund has funded a new arts center, despite its financial difficulties. The mayor defends the expensive prestige object as an investment in the future.
On the other hand, we have to see to it that in the quality of life competition between cities, we offer an infrastructure that attracts companies that create jobs, and that our social infrastructure functions.
And Dortmund isn't the only city in the Ruhr Valley plagued by crumbling infrastructure and a lack of funds.
Dirk Jacobs, you, like me, you pay the solidarity surcharge on a month-by-month basis. Are you happy to do so?
Happy to pay.
Well, that's an interesting answer in itself, yeah?
But I accept it. And I think it's necessary. It has been necessary until now, and I think it is still necessary, because the eastern part of Germany was very down in 1989, and the cities couldn't have survived without it.
OK. It's interesting that you say, you know, am I happy to be paying this? It's an additional tax, yeah? And the figure is very interesting. That it's very difficult to measure how much money has been paid from west to east in the last 2 decades or so. But the figure that is most often quoted by the German media at the moment is somewhere around 1.4 trillion euros have been paid to the east, yeah? The amazing thing is, I mean, you're shaking your head, but
you can't imagine that, huh?
You can't, for people outside Germany, it's an incredible figure. The amazing thing is, certainly for people from the
other than it's a whole state.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, true. But for people from the Anglo-Saxon world, that has been an additional tax. Not all of it has come from this solidarity surcharge, but there's never been any protests about that or anything. People have just paid and paid and paid. Yeah? It's very German.
Very nice, the Germans, aren't they?
In the report that we just had, we had Ulrich Zierau, the Social Democrat mayor of Dortmund, saying, you can't explain anymore why the poor cities in the Ruhr area have to go into high levels of debt in order to pay their share of the Solidarity Pact. What do people you know in Dortmund say about it now? Because we saw in the report that, you know, there's hardship in Dortmund, yeah, but they're paying lots of money elsewhere.
It's very, very difficult to compare the situation of Eastern Germany after 4 decades of socialism and the Ruhr area, who had great times in the industrial time.
Yeah.
But when the time is over now, it's another situation. They have to change by themselves, I think. Like I described already, Dortmund has managed. And I can't accept that, I would say.
So are people in Dortmund angry at the moment, or are people getting angry?
Not as far as I know.
Oh, yeah. No. Also very German that they're saying. I mean, people are facing this kind of hardship, and they're staying calm.
There's a lot of unemployment in Dortmund.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those people, of course, are not happy. But I've never heard this, that people of Dortmund say to me, this solidarity surcharge, stop it.
Okay.
We need it now.
You mentioned there, it was very interesting, you were talking about how after German reunification, after the wall came down, obviously the former East Germany had been through long, difficult communist times and was devastated economically. Yeah. You live in Berlin? Yeah. Berlin is surrounded by what was an Eastern German state, Brandenburg.
Brandenburg,
Do you go out into Brandenburg a lot? You do?
Beautiful landscape.
Beautiful landscapes.
Yeah.
And because I'm very interested, what is your impression when you're out in Brandenburg? Because this is one of the states where all this money has been spent. Do you have the feeling that Brandenburg is now catching up, has caught up, will catch up? What's the situation?
Many people say Brandenburg is going down. Huh? There are the cities like Potsdam or Cottbus. I think in these cities you see the money they received. The houses are rebuilt, the facades are new, the streets are in a good condition.
This is my impression as well.
Yeah, this is my impression. Yeah. But on the countryside, there are also many people who leave the very small villages, go to Berlin or the cities like Potsdam, and so that's the problem of Brandenburg.
Yeah.
But maybe not only from Brandenburg that people leave the small villages, and so the countryside is going to die.
Okay. So maybe, certainly, the solidarity surcharge needs to continue for some time to come from the anecdotal evidence that you're giving me here. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Tell me about, let's go back to Dortmund. You were giving me the impression that, you know, Dortmund now is facing from the report as well, facing serious problems. Does Dortmund have a future?
Yes, as it has already shown. So there are new industries that have taken place there.
What kind of industries are we talking about here?
Logistics, banks, insurances, microtechnics around the university.
Yeah.
And lots of new places to work have been founded and developed. And yes, Dortmund has a future.
Okay. If you are talking about Dortmund's future and you're talking about something of a renaissance, something of a resurge there, how important is Borussia Dortmund Football Club in all this?
It's the heart of all.
It's the heart of it all. I can see your eyes lighting up. Yeah.
Dortmund wouldn't be the same without Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah.
So that's you can say it's the cultural identity.
People say there's a very close link between the club, the ethos of the club, and the ethos of the city.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Because it's the main attraction. That's the point. Borussia Dortmund is the main attraction of Dortmund. You don't have
the unique selling point.
You don't have a river like the Rhine in Cologne. You don't have a nice castle or a big church or whatever. You only have this football club. This successful football club. And so it's usual in Dortmund to wear the yellow-black dresses, like we wear our suits, and that's it.
It's interesting. I had to do a little bit of reading up on all this because the vocabulary is very interesting. In Germany, the English language word patchwork family is used, and I was trying to work out how common that is in the English language. In the US, people are telling me yes, patchwork family is used.
What do they say?
patchwork family, or, you know, people are still trying to get used to the idea. You know, they don't quite have a word for it. In the UK, people are using the word a blended family. That's used in the US as well. Yeah, it's quite interesting that really the vocabulary doesn't exist quite yet. Yeah,
but things we have seen, you will find in England or USA as well. Or?
Absolutely, of course, yeah. But it's interesting because I did discover that the word patchwork family was introduced into the German language by a translator who was translating a book from the English language about patchwork families, and she used the word patchwork family. OK, that's the vocabulary. That's the vocabulary. Let's talk about the reality. Tell us about your patchwork family, first of all.
It's much easier than the case we have seen in the
easier than that?
Because I just have my elder son, who is 15 years old now, and he's half the time with his mother and with me. So 1 week with her, 1 week with me. We separated when he was 5 years old, and since then we have doing this like this, and I've been doing this like this, and
so
he's lucky with this.
For a while, you were a single parent.
Yes, yes. A single father. Yeah.
Which is quite unusual. I mean, most single parents are mothers.
Yes. When he was 5 and 6 and 7 years old, there were not so many fathers like me, alone with her son for a week, I think. Yeah, and now with my new wife, we have a very little son. 17-month-old and expecting the next one, and now it's like now it's a usual family situation with my eldest son.
Okay,
added.
It's interesting that you are talking about this as though it is the most normal thing in the world. In some parts of the world, I'm sure it is very normal, like Berlin. In some parts of the world, it's not so normal. Yeah. In the report, I got the feeling that it's a big adventure. And things fit into place, and is that the reality?
It's very difficult, you know. You have to agree with all the parents who are involved in the situations, and that is not so easy. And furthermore. Now I've lost my thought.
Okay, but so when you say it's not so easy, I mean the guy in the report, he said, we get on with it. Yeah. When you are faced with these problems,
you have to organize. You have to organize so many things to manage a patchwork family with 5 children, and it's very difficult. I think so. It's not the thing you choose. I would say if you have to choose, you'll be lucky with your partner for the rest of your life. And patchwork is a difficult thing to organize. And but it can work. It can work. But the situation is we want to be lucky with our partners, and we have high intentions. So we separate.
You have to make it work.
Then we separate, and that's the price.
Yeah. And hey, I was saying, I was asking how normal it is in a city like Berlin. Yeah. How do people react to somebody who's in a patchwork family? Did they just say, well, that's life these days, or?
In the big cities, it became almost normal.
Yeah. I did actually find, I don't know if you've actually seen this figure.
Most parents, so my eldest son in the class, his classmates, most of them have separated parents. Most of them.
Yeah, I know the story. I mean, from my kids going through schools here in Berlin, I actually found a figure of how many families with kids under 18 are viewed as blended families or patchwork families in Germany, and it's 13.6 of households, so nearly 15%. Across Germany. Yeah. So it's the modern world. Well, while we're talking about kids in Germany, Dirk, very often people say to me, Germany is not a child-friendly country. What's your experience?
It could be better. It's not. It could be better. It's still in the job. I think not difficult to organize the time so that there's still enough time for the children, and then even if both parents want to work.
Yeah. We saw you as a little kid growing up in Dortmund there, yeah? Are your children growing up in a completely different way from the way you grew up? I certainly know for me, my kids, their lives these days are super organised. There's lots of hobbies, there's lots of expectations and all this, yeah? Not much time for play.
Yeah, it depends on you. It depends on you if you tell your son you have to learn an instrument, make sports, and so on, and care for your school and your homework. You have to give him the spare time, of course. Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we decided one instrument and one sports club. That's enough.
Good. Okay.
But that's good. Okay.
I spent 95% of my childhood playing football down, at the back of the house, yeah? But I didn't become a very good football player. You are a journalist, you're a sports journalist, you're a basketball player, you also write lyrics. Oh no, you write songs, not just the lyrics. You try to. And the genre that you write in is the German Schlager. Please give me a quick definition of what a German Schlager song is.
I think that people could discuss this. There is no exact definition. Everything's... so I would say it's a song in German language.
OK, so it has to be in German.
Has to be written in German, German language, and it should be a little bit successful and a hit. Like you say.
The word Schlager actually means hit, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's a German language.
But it might be in the 80s, might be rock music, and 30 years later, so German rock music, like Herbert Grönemeyer, who is I think known in the world, very popular, and 30 years later it's Schlager.
I've got an idea now. A Schlager song is like the kind of music you can watch at the Eurovision Song Contest. That's pretty close to what it is, yeah?
Yeah, for example.
OK, Dirk,
but so the Germans should sing German and they sing English there.
Yeah, good, but they sing other languages as well. It's interesting because I discovered that the word for a Schlager song in the Netherlands, the Dutch word, is a Levenslied.
Levenslied.
A song about life, quite literally, a real life.
And that's it. That's it.
We're getting closer.
A good Schlager is about life. And I'm sure you can find the whole wisdom of life within 10 or 12 Schlagers.
Yeah, OK. It's interesting because sometimes when I'm trying to explain to people who are non-Germans what a Schlager is, I say it's a little bit like country and Western music.
For example.
It's got the kind of wisdom that country and Western... And when we say, language, I mentioned the Dutch Schlager tradition. I mean, a band like... I'm trying to think of an international band who would be sort of a Schlager band that people would say, oh, yeah, I know what you mean. ABBA?
ABBA.
ABBA.
ABBA is good Schlager.
Schlager. Good, OK.
Good Schlager.
ABBA is Schlager.
There's good Schlager and bad Schlager,
And your Schlager songs, what are they about?
The title is The Others Are Guilty, always, and that's why we can be happy, because if there is a problem, always the others are guilty.
There you are, the wisdom of life. The wisdom of life in a Schlager song, yeah? Do you have a Schlager collection at home? Do you have lots of Schlager records? Yeah? And do you listen to it when you're cooking dinner next to that photo?
No. Not like that.
Not like that?
Not like that.
Okay.
Also Beethoven.
Also Beethoven, yeah. You wrote your Schlager song for the Cologne Carnival, which is a little bit like the carnival anywhere else in the world, in Brazil or wherever. It's very popular here in Germany.
Because the Cologne has a special speech, a special kind of German dialect, a special kind of dialect of German dialect, and I love it. I can speak it, and that's why.
OK, let's just get a shot very quickly of you, because when people go to the carnival, they tend to dress up. Dirk is no exception. Let's just have a look at... Have we got it? Yeah? There we go.
Yeah, carnival, you have to find a costume.
Most people will know.
This was not so difficult because I didn't have to do too much with my hair. I just needed this costume.
And part of the costume...
And my eyebrows.
Did you get your eyebrows done, yeah?
A little bit painted, yes.
There you go.
And then, of course, you need Spock needs a phaser. And if you are in the pub and you want to impress the other people in the pub...
Let me have a go, yeah? So this is your original Spock-style phaser, yeah? You know, Captain Kirk had a phaser as well.
Kirk, yes, of course.
But
yeah.
his was like a bit longer, wasn't it? No.
No, well, I think it was
same sort of thing.
It's not the original one.
It's not the original one, and you've taped it up a little bit here because it's been to the carnival and back.
It's a little bit out of order, yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on very quick.
I think I need a new one.
Talking Germany quiz time. Yeah.
Okay.
Quick questions, quick answers. Dortmund or Berlin? Which is home? Dortmund. Oh. It's caught up with us already. The music, I can hear it in the background. Right, I'm going to ask you one question. Do you prefer reading good news or bad news?
Good news.
Good for you. Me too. That is all we've got time for this time round on Talking Germany. Our guest today, our very own Dirk Jacobs, a man of many facets. It's been interesting talking to him. If you've enjoyed his company as much as I have, then do come back next week. Do, by the way, also check out my Talking Germany blog on our internet site, where you can also catch up on any shows that you might have missed. For now, bye-bye and tschüss.